Welcome, everyone. We are here with our after show for episode 4 of The Idol, which was titled Stars Belong to the World. A very perfect title for tonight's episode because there were some stars. And I'm going to tell y'all right now up top, this was the show I was hoping for 4 weeks ago. This was the show that I was hoping we would explore these type of characters. Again, we've been led to believe that Tedros, this cult leader, is manipulating Jocelyn, getting to her head, destroying her career left, right, up, and down. But tonight showed us the real star of the show is Jocelyn. Her true colors came out tonight, man. And who do you believe? Xander or Jocelyn? Based on the last 5-10 minutes of the episode, calling up the ex-boyfriend, which, by the way, was that the boyfriend with the picture from episode 1, or was that someone else entirely? Rob, we see Jocelyn's true colors, man, and a lot to discuss about her, a lot to talk about with Tedros, a lot of stuff going on in the episode with Xander, but we talked about it before we went to this breakdown here. Shout out to the MVP, and that's Destiny. Divine MVP, y'all. But we got a lot to discuss. But I want to know your thoughts as we break it down in the comments now. Pros, cons, what do you like? What did you dislike? Based on the trailer, 1 episode left. So this is the penultimate episode, which I thought was a pretty solid episode. And we open the episode, we see the control of Tedros. He now has security guards with ARs. You know, I'm not going to lie, y'all. You probably, hopefully YouTube doesn't flag it, but you can see what the maid on the left or might be on the right of your screen, what she has in her hand and what she throws it in the trash can. Listen, if this show was hitting these type of comedic beats, the character stuff that we're going to talk about later, having Destiny Destiny should have been the goddamn star of the show. If they would have been focusing on that stuff more, this show would have been a hit. But anyway, I thought the opening was pretty damn funny with the maids cleaning all the coke and the sex toys all over the house. Getting to the seriousness here, going back to this tradition or this kind of routine of sorts of this taking care of me mindset that Jocelyn has allowed Tedros to think that he's taking care of her. We're going to circle back to that later. He's doing cleaning her legs in the bathtub. And the reason I want to bring that up now is because later in the episode, Rob tells Jocelyn, when she, makes her video for her fans about what her mother did to her, which now makes you wonder that whole scenario. We'll get into that later, but I'm bringing this up now is because this taking care of me thing is what she did for her mom when she was sick. And also just makes you think about this whole relationship and which makes me I wish we would have got it like one scene, like a flashback of her and her mom interacting, or maybe the first scene of season 1 of this particular show, we should have saw her like on her deathbed or at the hospital room, like saying her goodbyes to her mom, just to kind of plant that seed. But nonetheless, she did this to her mom, and now we see that taken care of, and Tedros kind of stepping in as the mom. And again, the way my mind's working after this episode, I'm starting to think that Jocelyn was the one that was kind of the Joe Jackson of the situation, kind of making it seem like her mom was the one she abused her, but maybe Jocelyn was like the one, I want you to hit me, mom. It's a lot of questions out there after tonight's reveal. Let me know what you all think about all that stuff. Cut to the MVP. Again, I am such a big fan of Divine, and I think she is just eating this role up. Like, there's a lot of uneven characteristics. There's a lot of like kind of things that characters are doing. Like, it's not consistent is the word I'm looking for. But the character that has been consistent since the first time we saw her on screen has been Divine Joy. Like, whatever it was from the first script before Sam Levinson became the director to obviously it got into his hands, she seems to be the most consistent. She's clicking on all cylinders. And again, whether it was last week, the week before, but more particularly this week, she stole this episode. Her whole getting the situation underhand, his real name, which was like an Italian name, but he ain't Italian. His mom, mom and dad just thought it would be cool to give him an Italian name. But we get the information here from Destiny that back in 2012, Mr. Jackson here kidnapped his girlfriend and beat her up. So again, this whole episode is really exposing, and we got a little bit of last week. We knew he was something was stinky and messed up about this guy. But he, sir, as we find out, was in jail for 6 years, y'all. I'm actually wondering, too, like if Jocelyn was talking about the story and how she was just kind of dismissive about it. I'm wondering, going back to Jocelyn just being like the the puppet master orchestrating this whole thing and making it seem like she was, fell into this trap. I wonder if she knew stuff about Tedros before this whole thing even popped off. I'm like, if maybe she knows who the ex-girlfriend was. Now I'm just theorizing, coming up with stuff. But again, the reveals of Jocelyn this episode makes me just kind of think back on all the stuff from the previous episodes. But nonetheless, we find out that he was in jail in 2012. She tells him we need to kill this dude, which I still think that's going to be in play. There's and I wouldn't be surprised if Leia is the one that's going to kill Tedros by the end of the show. But we get Destiny, aka as she calls herself, the Black Panther. She infiltrates herself into this situation at Jocelyn's house or now Tedros' house and pays them a visit. But going back to, I'm jokingly saying it, but I'm being for real at the same time as far as handling of the Leia character. I really have a feeling that she's going to, and I've been saying this for the last few weeks now. There's something more to her, and there's something that's going to happen with her character that might be something as dramatic as killing someone and that person being Tedros, because she was getting embarrassed. She's been getting embarrassed by him this entire season, but no more so than tonight's episode. I felt bad, and I've felt bad for Leia throughout this series. But tonight, man, I'm like, Leia, slap this dude and rip his rap tail right at the back of his head. Again, these are just the little seeds, how he's shooting her down, being very dismissive of her and her agency and her being the best friend and more than just an assistant. And these are just many of examples of how this is. I could be completely wrong, but I feel like all this stuff is going to lead to her pushing him off the balcony, hiring someone to kill him, doing something crazy. Like I'm telling y'all, man, keep an eye out for Leia when it comes to next week's finale. He's actually here live in the flesh. Again, I thought they were going to probably do like what TV shows and movies do when they name drop someone and like they'll just show them from the back, or like it'll be very blurred out and you really can't make out their face, but he's here. He showed up, the legend himself. And as he shows up, he's going through the house and they're trying to find the right room to make the music. They inevitably do so. The music in this show has been okay. Some of the original songs that The Weeknd has been producing for the show has been, again, I mentioned it weeks ago. I'm not like a Weeknd expert. Like I've heard his songs, his hit singles, but I've never listened to an entire album of his. And a lot of the original music he's made for the show so far has been solid. Jocelyn music has been and I think that's purposeful. The Jocelyn music hasn't been the greatest, but as she's kind of now intertwined with Tedros, and especially in tonight's episode, I'm not saying I would buy this, listen to it in my car, but I'm like, this is the music they made in tonight's episode, the Fill the Void song. We see this whole, again, this wolf in sheep's clothing as they're making the music. And, we have Jocelyn making this song and she's coming up with the lyrics and she tells Tedros, again, very purposeful, building his kind of his ego, making him think he's in control. I don't like making decisions on my own. I trust you enough to make decisions for me. Again, it's very purposeful. It is very intentional. The words that she's choosing to use on this man. And again, let me just make this clear. By no means am I saying that, Jocelyn's the big bad of the show and Tedros is just being played and sucked up into a web. That's not what they're, to an extent, I am saying that to a little bit, but I'm not dismissing his toxic behavior. They're both toxic individuals. They don't remind me of it, but they kind of do. I don't know if y'all used to watch back in the day, VH1, and I still think they have it, Love and Hip Hop. You guys don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. The last season, I know they still had seasons, but the last season I watched, there was a dude who was a producer, pretty, well-known producer, Stevie J. And I think her name was it Jocelyn? She's a wannabe singer. I don't like her music at all. The few songs I've heard of her, I think her name was Jocelyn. She's like a Puerto Rican wildfire, crazy ass individual. This episode reminded me of Stevie J and Jocelyn. Just saying all that to say, Google, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google Stevie J and Jocelyn, and you'll get a very similar vibe of how. Now, the only thing that's different is our Jocelyn, the show, is already an established artist versus Love and Hip Hop. Jocelyn was trying to get into the hip hop industry as an R&B singer, rapper, whatever. And Stevie J was the one that was already established in the music industry. So this is kind of like an amalgamation of those two people that I'm talking about. Let me know if y'all got a similar vibe. But tossing it over to the fine folks at Into the AM. I don't have one of their shirts on tonight, but I have a ton of the shirts in my closet. But I'm going to do a quick little sponsorship for Into the AM. Check them out. Today's video is sponsored by Into the AM. Into the AM is a clothing company with a variety of amazing products such as t-shirts, hoodies, jackets, shorts and underwear, headwear, and much more. Their t-shirts have unique designs, they're incredibly soft and extremely comfortable, and they're made to last. But the best part is, you can get 10% off by using my discount code MovieFiles when you're selecting your new gear, which you can find that code in the description below. All right, so shout out to Into the AM sponsoring today's video. Like I said, I don't have one of their amazing shirts on tonight, but I have like 7, 8 of their shirts in my closet. Great material, a lot of great designs. They also have a bunch of other apparel. So if you guys are looking for some new swag, it is officially summertime. Definitely check out the link in the description of this video. Again, just check them out. You don't have to buy anything. It definitely helps out the channel if you guys want to help on that level. But more importantly, it can help you out. Swag up for the summertime, y'all. So definitely check them out. And if you guys see something you like, you can use my discount code. And I think they have like a summer savings right now. So you can use the savings, get my discount. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be looking better than Tedros. I'd tell you that with the swag. But definitely check out Into the AM, sponsor of today's video. I have the scene with Chloe meeting Destiny for the first time. She plays the piano for her, and she's singing and all that good stuff. And again, this is Destiny and her plans of planting herself into the house, but also very smart on Destiny's part. Let me not only make myself present in this home, but let me maybe gravitate towards one of these people and maybe latch onto them, get some background information. We see Destiny is talking to her and she gets the information, Tedros, and how she came about finding her, which she was on the streets, which she was on, heroin, and he saved her. He saved Isaac. He saved all these broken people. He thinks he's saving them, but we get all that information. But the big information is when Destiny says, "Oh, how old are you, by the way, Chloe?" And she says, "Oh, I'm 17, 8." And it's like, damn, man, he's prying on these young, broken individuals that don't need his help. They need people to take care of them, help them out in situations. But unfortunately, he got their hands on them. He definitely preyed on her, got his claws on her at a young age, which is sad, man, because again, I go back to what this show could have really did a great job at, 4 weeks ago. And who's to say that this wasn't the idea when the show was first came to its inception before, Sam became the director. But this is the kind of stuff that I think the show could have really put a spotlight on. Yes, the backstory, exploring a pop star and all the evil stuff and the drugs, hypocrisies of the industry and people backstabbing. That's the intrigue. But then it's people like the Chloes of the world. Like, how does someone at that young age get warped into someone like Tedros and tries to give them this idea that he can make her famous? Like, there's so much that the show has to offer, man. The Chloes of the world, Diane, who we'll talk about, the world. There's so much stuff going on, but it's just compacted into this hour show. In the past 3 weeks, again, there's been some highs, but there's been a lot of lows. Put that aside. There's an actual good show here with some interesting stuff, but it's just not enough. There's not enough substance going on. There's a lot of style, not the best style. I'm looking at you, Tedros, but there's a lot of substance that just, I don't think had the opportunity to really express itself, to lead the show. Going back to what I liked about the scene, I like their bond because, and say what you will, I think Destiny was being honest. I think she was being true. I think she wasn't, some of it was getting information, give me some tea where I can use it against Tedros and really figure out what's going on. But I think she was actually giving her knowledge. She was putting her own game because she's talking about it. And from everything we've seen so far from Chloe, she tells us she's pure-hearted. There hasn't been anything in the show that has told me otherwise, as far as her being a nice person, young person that swept up into all this stuff and having Tedros tell her all this stuff. But she tells us she's pure-hearted. And I think that Chloe is a pure-hearted person, and she tells her to not allow people to take advantage of her talent and to steal her talent and to use her talent against her. Now, I don't know if that's going to lead to Chloe talking up against Tedros, but I don't know. Let me know if you guys think that Chloe is going to be someone to, it's like maybe she's going to detach herself from the situation. However this explodes, however this winds up, that Chloe's going to be the one that's not going to go down the path and end up like Isaac, Ramsey, and all his other people in the cult. This is the stuff that I'm talking about a little bit earlier regarding how the show lacks focus or lacks there's bits and pieces, but it's all over the place. This plot to me has been so underdeveloped. It's interesting, but it really is it just feels like it's there. Diane scenes. Now, we knew from episode 1, she was a backup dancer. befriending Jocelyn. Lo and behold, and going back to the tapes, watch my episode 1. I always had a feeling that maybe Diane was setting her friend up, which ended up being the case. Nikki sees her, brings her in, and now we see that she's offering her this deal. She's giving her the world. Where are her representatives? Diane has no lawyers. She has, her manager is, if Tedros, if you want to call him that, but she has no one there read over the contracts to get everything in pen and paper. Like, she's just living the life. Like, this is a young, if you could say this is like Jocelyn 2.0, but without her mom being there. Of these people being taken advantage of. Again, we had the scene with Destiny telling Chloe, don't let people take advantage of you. And we kind of see that following up with this scene, because again, and not to say that Nikki is fully taking advantage of Diane. Like, this is the career she wanted. Like, this is what she wanted. I feel as though she has the people backing her up like she should have, like a good foundation of people to look out for her. But the reason I say that this is a good plot is because if it was fleshed out more, there's an interesting parallel going on with Diane and Joss, because again, we're seeing the industry preying on these young people, giving them the world tours, the music, the t-shirts, the marketing, all that stuff, right? That's going on. The reverse of what's going on with Johnson is as we thought that Tedros is preying on her, but we obviously see that's a little bit different. I wish we would have spent more time maybe having those two separate those storylines going on at the same time to come to an intersect, which happens a little bit later when Jocelyn finds out what Diane's been doing. But I feel like it could have been something more dynamic, a little bit more interesting if they would have played it out better and wrote it out a little bit more, because Diane there's something there, but I don't think the show has handled that as well as they should have. Get the tips from Destiny. She tells her to put a little bit more oomph in it, put a little more funk on it. And Tedros said, I could do one better for you, Destiny. Pulls out the blindfold. Again, I want y'all to notice it's Jocelyn that's taking it the extra step, tighten it tighter, double knot it. This is part of her process. I remember that now, knowing that we know at the end of this episode. But the only thing that's different from this scene in episode 1 is they were getting their freak on with no one in the room. Not this time around. I mean, Mike Dean's in a room. Y'all know the scene. Everyone's in a room, and he's pleasuring her in front of everyone to get that out of her. Again, I just want to point out that Jocelyn allowed this. And again, we'll talk about her whole situation at the end. But again, it's just important to note that she's allowing this just as much as he's doing these actions. Mentioning that this is a house not full of crackheads, it's a house full of talented stars, right? She talks about Chloe being a poet and didn't even know it. She's talking about Isaac. She's talking about Ramsey. Like, these are talented individuals. So, and as she proceeds to say, this is some crazy shit that's going on in this house, but this is whatever he's doing is getting the best out of them. Because she details, like, as he's abusing Jocelyn and doing these routines and doing these rituals of the sorts, that it gets the best out of them. It gets the talent out of them, because the line of this episode, or the title of this episode, was "Stars Belong to the World," which I think was a really great line when Isaac says to Leia, as we'll talk about the scene here, that she's not a human being, she's a star. We have this conversation between Leia and Isaac as she's addressing her concerns with what's going on, and he just pretty much dismisses her and says this is part of the process, and that you are an obstacle, you are destroying the process, you are getting in the way of the process. And again, this is my favorite line in the episode, because I think a lot of people sometimes think of movie stars, actors, singers, producers, athletes, people in the public, they look at them as something more than human. Let's talk about this scene here. So it was a quick scene, short scene, but we have the journalists from Vanity Fair, who we've seen in episode 1 and 2, kind of giving a FaceTime call to Jocelyn, and they're having a conversation regarding, hope you're doing well, hope everything's good. And Jocelyn, like, I'm sorry about what happened last time. But I don't know where that's going, because based on episode 1 and 2, with the Vanity Fair journalist being there, she's making the story about this icon, this pop star in her life, and her losing her mom and going on tour, the mental breakdown. But then she was absent last week, and then her just popping up in this episode just seemed kind of odd. So I don't know exactly where they're taking that plot. Initially, I thought that this journalist was going to make this like smear campaign on Jocelyn and make her look, worse in the limelight. But I don't know if there's even time for that plot. Only thing I can think of right now is that the journalist is gonna, Jocelyn's been thinking she's gonna have this big piece in Vanity Fair. She's really gonna just be a small piece of the Diane piece. Like she's gonna be like a small little headline or a small little paragraph about how Diane got into the industry. She was the backup, like the headline is backup singer of Jocelyn, now a megastar. And Jocelyn thinking this whole piece is gonna be about her, but it's actually just her being just a part of the inclined career of Diane. That's the only thing I can really see that plot going. But let me know what you all think about that. Xander's in the shower, you know, hitting those high notes. And like I said, the creepiest shot, bro. If this dude was in my bedroom looking like Shadow Man, just hiding out in the corner, man, that is a straight shot to the nostrils, man. I'm knocking him out, bro. This is a great shot, by the way. I will say this is a great shot because it's like he's looming in the dark. But this is a great shot, guys, because it's like he's preying on his victims through the shadows, lurking in the shadows like a creep that he is. This is a great shot here. Regardless of how we feel about Tedros, the guy has an eye for talent. And right now he has his eyes on Xander. Xander tells him his vocal cords were hurt or something that he made. It seems to be that he made this up because as we find out in the scene, we find out that Xander tells Tedros that Jocelyn's mom outed him when he was 13. And that crippled him. Like he didn't want to, because it seems like he was maybe going to be the next big thing to Jocelyn or maybe being the next Jocelyn. But that didn't happen because right now, as an audience, we're led to believe that, oh, man, you know, Jocelyn's mom outed him at a young age, crippled his confidence in himself, and it kind of derailed him from being the next big star and having her daughter be the star. It seems to be that's not the case. Family means to serve, means to be a servant, and Xander stepped forward. And Xander he's up on game. He's like, oh, hell no. You know, he runs off. This is where the question of the night comes up into play. So Xander's now taken. He's strapped down. Initially, when he runs away, she tells her, it's like, I don't know, Ted, maybe you're going a little bit too hard. Maybe this is a little bit crazy. He's like, no, like, again, servant. I'm devoted to you. You have my complete loyalty. Again, I'm trying to notice something. Oh, no, Tedros, don't do this to my best friend or one of my friends, close friends since I was a kid. Don't do this to him. And all of a sudden, she goes from don't hurt him to, okay, do what you do. Go ahead, punish him from hurting me. A wolf in sheep's clothing, y'all. But we have the scene play out. And Tedros is shocking him, trying to get the truth for hurting Jocelyn. And by hurting Jocelyn, he's referring to, why did you allow Jocelyn's mom manipulate to beat her, to take advantage of her? Why didn't you do anything? I did do something. I tried to do something. I tried to speak up. And the reason she would stop me, and it goes even further down, is he says that Jocelyn's mom made him sign a contract to stop singing. Jocelyn's like, he's lying, this, that, and the other. But we find out, y'all, that it was Jocelyn that stunted his career, that put his career on hold, that had her mom, had him sign the contract. Because he says that she's in control of everything. Now, this is the question I have for y'all is, by everything, do we think that Jocelyn's mom was this big bad wolf in an extent that she was the one that was forcing this fame, this lifestyle on her daughter, was beating, abusing her daughter to get the talent out of her daughter? Or do we think it was Jocelyn who, dark stuff, but like having her mom do all this stuff, beat me in front of these people to make it seem like I'm this young girl getting abused by my mom? But in hindsight and behind closed doors, she was telling her mom to do this to get the best out of her. This is again, man, this is where the show like, oh, okay, what's going on here, right? Some really twisted stuff, man. And again, the question is, do you believe Xander or do you believe Jocelyn? By the end of the episode, I got my answer. But the question I have for y'all is, who do you believe? And just to pose mine, Jocelyn, I think she is the manipulator. And I've said, again, you can watch the tapes. I said this, I think episode 1, I said that I feel like Jocelyn, there's more to her character. Like, I think that I said it last week, that she poses to be kind of incompetent. She poses to kind of pretend like she doesn't know what's going on, but she definitely knows what's going on. Lily Depp is a really great actress. Good actress, man. And she really is showing her chops in this show. Like, I think that she's a really great actress because when we see that switch, when you see that tear in her eye, think about episode 1, the very first scene of the show was her doing the photo shoot. Photographer laugh, be sexy, this, that, and the third, cry. And she was able to do that at a drop of a dime. She was able to switch up her persona, switch up her personality, switch up her attitude so quickly. Manipulating situations, that's some good stuff, man. And again, that's why I say Lily Rose Depp is a really good actress, and she's really doing a good job in the show. Now, in retrospect, looking back at it, Jocelyn allowed all that stuff to happen, right? She doesn't allow anything to happen without it going through her. So I love that kind of reveal. Again, it makes the audience think if he's lying or if she's lying. I think it's really good stuff, man. Again, I wish the show just would have done a better job of handling that more. As that's happening, Xander says, she's even worse than her mom. And while he's saying that, and again, I'm not on his side by any means, but I want y'all to notice that Tedros is kind of surprised by this. And I think what I mean by surprise is that he has this moment of like, wait a minute, have I been getting played? Have I been getting manipulated this whole time? Now I think he's dismissive of it because he's like, no, she ain't been playing me. But I love that moment there, man, because he has a moment of like, kind of like, wait a minute, hold up, has the player been getting played? I'm not saying he's a player. I think he's terrible. I'm just saying, like, in his mind, he thinks he's a player, right? But I love that stuff there, man. I really do. And it goes back to later in this episode when he's on the steps with Jocelyn getting on with Mr. Rob. Didn't feel bad for him, but I'm like, yes, hell yeah. Now you know what it feels like to be manipulated, to be taken advantage of, to be played. I love that scene. So again, the show at its moments has these great little character moments, great character beats, nice little reveals that it leads up to. So I really enjoyed that scene a lot, guys. And again, the question in the comments I have for you all is, who do you believe? Do you believe Jocelyn? Do you believe Xander? Look at that face there. People are gonna be like, no, Team Jocelyn, I root for you all day. She can do no wrong. Which is, again, the beauty of the show is you can have people picking sides and falling in love with these characters, but I don't think the show has done a good enough job to do that. Look at that face when she tells Tedros again. It's some good stuff, man. It's some good stuff. She's been the villain this whole time. It's a lot of bull crap with this show, but there's some diamond in the rough. It's a diamond in the rough there, man. All this stuff that's been transpired from not only Tedros, but from her mom, her career, her life, her lifestyle choices, the photo, the photo on episode 1, all the stuff going on. This is her way of like getting the best out of her. This is Jocelyn. This is just like my whole thought of the character Jocelyn. The question at hand is, why would she manipulate the situation? Why would she allow Tedros? Like, what's the point of having him get involved in her life? Well, again, this makes me think that she knew who he was before he knew who she was, in a sense of like, let me play a game on her. She was playing a game on him. She might have knew about the whole girlfriend thing, that this is some sick, twisted individual that abuses women. Well, I can use him as my replacement with my mom. He can beat me and get the best out of me. Again, she needs therapy. She needs therapy, y'all. She has this career low with her losing her mom. She's directionless. She doesn't know where to go. The people in her life, Destiny, her managers, Nikki, they can't get the best out of her. But this sick, twisted, woman abuser, misogynistic individual can get this out of me. And I'm going to use him to get the best out of me. I'm going to use him to think he's in control. I'm going to use him for tough love. So again, it's a slow burn. You got to get through the dirt to find it. But it's some interesting stuff there, man. It's a really, really interesting perspective because, again, from what I remember, what the show was going to initially kind of be focusing on was a pop star artist, a female artist who was going to be being taken advantage of in the music industry. We've seen those stories before, and we need to see more of them because it is a thing that needs to be out there. But for me, this is an interesting angle because, again, you're led to believe that this character is down and out, has no one in her corner. But then you find out this whole time that she's been manipulating everyone around her. So that is a more interesting story than just your stereotypical. And again, I don't want to say stereotypical, like brushing off and negating stories that need to be told of how people are taken advantage of in any industry and in life in general, but particularly in this music industry. Have this star be the one that invokes all the chaos and all the madness. So I don't know, man. I think that's an interesting storyline that could have been great. It could have been great. But goddamn, they had to fill us in with some really trashy dialogue, some terrible acting at points from the Weeknd, and just some really unnecessary like scenes that just felt hollow. I have this scene, he like pees his pants. Isaac comes in there and cleans him up. Isaac tells Xander, I feel bad for you. I'm gonna let you go. And Tedros sees the talent in you, but you have to do a favor for him. I want y'all to remember that there's a favor that's needed to be done that Xander's going to have to accomplish. We'll go back to that here in a little bit. But we get a moment where Tedros comes to the bedroom late at night and tells her that she needs to put her truth out there. Goes ahead and goes on I believe it was probably like an IG live or something. She goes live and she tells all her fans about her public situation with her mother, how, she abused her, that everything she's gone through, and she promises they're going to see the new side of her, this new version of Jocelyn. At this point in the episode, 17-year-old Chloe, she tells Jocelyn why she came to the party because she's mad at you. Why would Jocelyn, why would she be mad at me? Well, because you're sleeping with her. She didn't say man, but you're sleeping with Tedros. And, she was all upset because you guys are in this relationship that wasn't a part of the plans. Because again, guys, go back to the tapes, man. I'm gonna give myself a pat on the back. Not that this show is the most complex show. A lot of stuff is predictable. I'm just saying. I said back in episode 1, I feel like that she set all this up. I'm referring to Diane. She set up the club thing, whatever, and we already established that when they revealed that Diane and Tedros were in cahoots. Who was that? Episode 3? Or episode 2. So as that's happening, Jocelyn, again, she goes from, wait a minute, I thought, and this is the kind of, I guess, the twist of the episode, if you want to call it that, is as a viewer, and I'm going to know in the comments, do you all have a moment where you were like, yes, Jocelyn finally knows that Tedros, even though, again, if we're playing into the idea that she was allowing him to think that he was controlling her, but she didn't know that he was sleeping with Diane and that Diane was setting her up. So like she thinks it's just like the meta-ness of the, a mirror watching a mirror watching a mirror. She thought so she was in control of the whole situation. Now she finds out that Diane, who she just thought was a backup dancer, no harm, no foul. And maybe this is where I'm getting at. Maybe she didn't feel as bad as far as Tedros taking advantage of her, but more so that it was a female that she looked upon like lesser than her was in cahoots with someone taking advantage of her. Is that where you all think that this kind of the devastating look that we have from Jocelyn, this devastating reveal that Jocelyn gets, was more so that she was like, I can't believe F Tedros, he's harmless. He has a rat tail. But I allowed my backup dancer to somehow, some way, work her way into a situation, work her way into getting my song. Is that what that look comes from, guys? That Jocelyn felt disgusted that Diane was able to get one over on her. Well, while that is happening, and my gosh, my man was on speed dial. Jocelyn texts her ex-boyfriend, which again, I don't know if her ex-boyfriend was the one that had all that stuff on her face in episode 1, or if it was someone else. But we knew a couple weeks ago that he cheated on her, and that's why they broke up, unless we were to assume that. But Rob is now in the house having a good old time with Tedros. They're having, some shots. Escalate the alpha male in the room, and he's drunk and doing karate kicks and, getting close. And shout out to Rob, man. Rob didn't stand down, because I'm thinking of my homeboy in the store last week that just allowed, Tedros to talk down to him. As well as I'm thinking about the personal chef that let Tedros slap him. Like, I'm just so glad that Rob didn't like punk out and be like, all right, man, you win. Like, he was like, nah, bro. He kept telling him to. I don't know if y'all caught that. Rob kept saying to him, I'm gonna play, we can play fight, but if you get any closer, I might have to show you, what I'm really about. I thought that was just kind of funny. Jocelyn comes in, runs in this man's arms, and it's like, oh, I'm so blah, blah, blah. And I can't remember the line that Rob said, but he's like, oh, your boyfriend, or like whoever Tedros is, did you know he was I can't remember what he said, but it was something like silly, but Jocelyn like dismissed him so quickly. Again, this whole entire show, we've been led to believe that Tedros tells her to speak, when to eat, when to dance, when to sing, controlling everything. You take care of me with last week's finale of the episode. She allowed all that, man. This is the real Jocelyn. This is the real Jocelyn, man. She can, woo. I was sipping, I was talking about Love and Hip Hop earlier. This is the shit that I was watching with Love and Hip Hop. Like, damn, these people are so evil. All the sex scenes with Tedros and Jocelyn this season has been flat as a pop that's been sitting out for 3 hours. None of the sex scenes have been sexy at all. Like Lily is, she's a very attractive young lady. Tedros, not so much. All of the sex scenes have been very lukewarm at best. But the scene between Rob and Jocelyn getting it on, y'all, was what I think the intent of the sexual getting, maybe getting the audience at home being like, turning off, making sure the blinds are closed so the neighbors don't think they're watching porn or whatever. It's like none of those scenes were hot at all. But I'm just saying, Rob and Jocelyn, that was hot. That was some sexy HBO, late at night type of viewing, man. That's the sexiness that I think the show has been trying to capture, but hasn't been able to do because Tedros is just the disgusting person with a rat tail. But anyway, y'all, as that's going on, again, Tedros is outside banging on the door, baby, let me in. Rob not tells her, he's essentially telling us as an audience, the reason it broke up was because Jocelyn kind of encouraged this, that she didn't want to be in a single person relationship, to go explore. He thinks, again, Jocelyn's great at making these men think that they are needed by her. Nah, bro, it's the other way around. So they're hooking up. Oh yeah, I got to do this one more time before we wrap up this breakdown because I just love it. I need to put it on replay. Keep crying, bro. Keep crying. I love it. Because he's such a despicable character. Bob, booty call, about to go back on his press tour. He runs into Xander. He sees them. He's like, hey, what's up, bro? It's been a minute. Yada. Do you mind taking this photo with my friend here? She's a big fan of yours, right? And he's like, sure, man. I'll take a quick photo of you. Whatever. No harm, no foul. Xander takes the photo. Damn, man, like that was not what I wanted. Like, delete that photo, and he leaves. Back to what Isaac told Xander when he was cleaning him. He said, Tedros sees talent in you, but you're going to need to do a favor for him. If I'm going to let you go, you need to do a favor. So my question for y'all at home is, this favor, it's kind of weird because how would have Tedros didn't know that Rob was coming over, right? So like, how would he I guess he just had that, Uno card, saving that card, like whenever I need it, I'm going to have it. So after Tedros is crying outside, he might have texted Xander, hey, favor, cashing in right now, and I got many more I want to use for you. I want you to take a photo of this actor, Rob. I'm assuming he's a big actor. He said he's leading a superhero movie. I want you to take this photo of him hugging, this girl who's, half clothed. And this is the angle. Does he want Rob to look bad for Jocelyn? Like, he just hooked up with his girlfriend, and then Jocelyn sees this photo of him hugging, this girl who's half naked, and like she's gonna feel bad. That doesn't seem like that would bother her. I mean, he already cheated on her. I mean, and it seems like she doesn't really care. I might be wrong in saying that. Or is Tedros gonna use this to like mess up Rob's career by having him taking his photo with this half-naked girl, and the headline reads, I don't know, him taking advantage. I don't know, because maybe the girl comes out and says, no, he touched me. He gave me a hug. I didn't want him to do that. He was groping me, touching me. Like, I don't know if they're going to spin it that way and make Rob see like he's a predator. He's inappropriate. He's cheated on his pop star. Now he's going out for his next victim. Like, I don't know the angle. And who's to say this is even the angle from Tedros? This could be Xander doing his own, trying to get back at Tedros, right? So that's the question I have for you all is, who is this from? Is this from Tedros? Is this from Xander? Is this the favor that he wants him to do? And if this is the favor, is it to make Jocelyn jealous that Rob just, smashed and grabbed, and next he's moving on to the next girl literally minutes later? Or if this is to damage his career and make it seem like he's harassing this girl. And now I'm even thinking about it, going back to that line that Destiny said, that there's kids in this house. By kids, teenagers. She's underage. Maybe she's 17. She's at this party. There's drugs. There's sex. There's this movie star, underage girl, ruining his career. Is that the angle? If that's the angle, we got one episode. How are they going to tie that into Jocelyn, Manipulator, Tedros, Diane, Destiny, Chloe? Goddamn, that's a lot of plots to wrap up in an hour. So again, man, this show has these like interesting moments and drama and complexity within characters and going into the minds of these terrible people, toxic people. But next week's the finale. So we'll see, man, how it all wraps up. To wrap up this breakdown portion, again, we're live now with the live audience. Come and join us. We're going to be back next week for the finale. But wrapping up the breakdown, let me know in the comments, those watching the replay, pros, cons, thoughts, deeper meanings. What'd you take away with it? I think this is the best episode of the season, but let me know in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We will be back. Join us next week for the live after show for the finale that I didn't know was coming because I thought it was 6 episodes. But join us next week. You all have been awesome. Peace out.